How's it going, everyone? It is Andre Williams, and over here we talk stocks and we focus on one thing. Always protect your profits. And today we're going to be talking about SNDL Sundial growers. I know you guys saw it had a green day, show some strength inside of the market. So of course I got to give you guys an update. But before we get started, let's jump into the agenda. If you're new to this channel, I just want to let you know we have timestamps down below inside the description. But if you are a shareholder or you're thinking about taking a position, I highly suggest you watch this full entire video. So the first thing we're going to be going over is the technical analysis. We're going to be taking a look at the overall price action, looking at support, looking at resistance, and as far as our strategy is concerned, to know what we need to look forward to, especially when it comes to protecting your profits. And then secondly, we're going to be going on Fintel, taking a look at the recent institutional ownership and as well as the short interest information. Institutions have been loading up on shares, and of course the shorts, we're going to continue to see how much they're vested as far as shorting SNDL. And then we're going to be taking a look at the order flow distribution, where institutions loading up on shares or were they dumping shares today, it will have an impact on the stock. And then when all of that is done, we'll be jumping into the final thoughts. So let's get to it. So we're going to be doing a technical analysis for SNDL Sundial growers. Let's see how it performed on the day. So it ended up closing at 83 cents, being up 3.37%. On the low, it tested 79 cents, and then on the high, testing 84 cents. When we take a look at the volume stats on the day, you can see we traded at 101.615 million shares, and as far as for the average volume over 10 trading days, it was at 92.148 million shares. So we had above average volume, part of the reasons why we ended up seeing some strength inside of the stock today. When we take a look at our chart, we're going to be using the 1-year daily chart. We can see from the RSI down below, it's at 48.05. So yes, it is in the oversold territory, but as you can see, it has been gaining some momentum. When we take a look at the indicators on our chart, we are below the 100-day. We're also below the 200-day, but you can see we're right at that 21-day EMA at 83 cents. Of course, I'm not too surprised with the selling pressure near to the close, and part of the reasons being is we have a lot of key stats that are going to be coming out this week, so of course there's going to be a lot of profit taking that's going to be happening. We did end up getting a spike going to 84. Would have been great to test the 200-day being around that 85 range, but we didn't end up getting it. Could we potentially get it going into tomorrow? Most definitely, but I wanted you guys to know there is going to be a lot of volatility depending on how those numbers are going to be looking like, especially with CPI and so forth. So what we want to look for, we want to see a test going to 85 cents, so passing 84 cents, which was our high for the day. If we don't end up getting that, and let's say we decide to pull back going into the 70-cent range like it did, as you can see, 79 cents and so forth, this is the area where I like to accumulate shares, whether it's at 79, 78, or anywhere in the 70s, because again, we know SNDL is known for making these pops, whether it's throughout the month or at some time within weeks and so forth. So we just got to continue to be patient and see what happens. So we're going to take a look at the institutional ownership and as well as the short interest information for SNDL. So as we scroll down on the page, green rows indicate new positions while red rows indicate closed positions. So we can see for August the 9th, we have Telemus Capital that went in with 47,450 shares of SNDL, and this filing went in today for August the 9th. I think I've already said that already, but it's good to see institutions loading up. So now when we go to the short interest information, we scroll down on the page, short shares availability is at 10 million, updated 7 minutes ago. And as far as for the short borrow free rate, it is at 1.32%. Taking a look at the history of the short volume ratio, we can see for August the 6th, which was on Friday last week, it was 54.86. And then on the Thursday, it was at 49.15. So what does this mean? SNDL continues to have short squeeze potential. So if we have a lot of buying volume coming into the stock, we do know they have earnings coming up, then we could see some spikes. So that's one thing to be aware of and to make sure that you have a solid entry like we talk about. Now let's take a look at the order flow distribution for SNDL. So we can see here on the inflow is at 27.34 and on the outflow is at 27.40. So despite the fact it was an outflow day, it looked fairly even. Now, if we take a look at the large for both, it is 0. On the medium, on the inflow, it's at 19.5. 8.94, and on the small, it's at 7.40. When we take a look at the outflow side, it's at 18.64, and on the small, it's at 8.76. So the medium actually ended up beating, so the medium on the inflow side actually ended up beating it on the outflow side. Good to see. Now, if we take a look at the large scale orders in the last 5 days, you can see a lot of zeros down the board, especially for today. But last week, Friday, which we covered, we had a big inflow day being at 746.42. So of course, it was steady. They do have earnings that is coming up, so there is that anticipation. Many are holding shares, but we also see purchasing, and it's part of the reason why we've seen some strength. Now, let's jump into the final thoughts. So for my final thoughts for SNDL Sundial growers, for anyone who was able to get their entries in the 70-cent range, things are definitely looking good for you. And like I was saying inside of the technicals, even if it does pull back even further, I'm still going to be adding in that 70-cent range because I know it's going to have a pop. We ended up making that pop to 84 cents. Some of you have messaged me and told me, hey, Dre, I just took over 5% profit. Of course, that may not be the same goal for many others, but do keep in mind there is an ability to make money off of SNDL in regards to the short term. You just got to make sure you have the right strategy. And if you've been following what I've been talking about on this channel, of course, you would have been able to see some green. But you guys know already, this is not financial advice whatsoever. So you're the one who's pushing that buy button and you're going to have to assume that responsibility. But we do see, as far as institutions loading up, they are doing it. So we can look forward to a further spike, especially going into earnings. When we took a look on Fintel, we see institutions have been filing saying, hey, we've been loading up on SNDL shares. So this is actually good to see. And when we see, as far as for the short interest, yes, shorts are still heavily vested inside of this play. Of course, this is no surprise because if you've been in SNDL long enough, then you've been used to it by now. So I hope you guys found this video helpful, and I can't wait to see how SNDL does for the rest of the week, and be prepared for that volatility because it is going to happen because of all of the things that are going to be coming out inside of the stock market in regards to the CPI data and a lot of economic numbers. But hey, just make sure you're focused, you know what your game plan is, and be prepared for the unexpected. Hope you enjoyed this video.